All right, so here's a quick explanation for number 9. I approached it a little different from the way the solution does. So you have your function and it's asking you to evaluate the limit as x approaches 3. So I just decided to take it from the left and then check it from the right of 3 to figure out what it would be at 3, right? So if I'm looking at the left of 3, it's this linear function. So I'm following it down. The furthest point I have is 2.999, right? So if I get to 3, it's still a negative slope, so it's still going down. So I know whatever it is at 3 is going to have to be less than 1.601. So I'm just writing this, right? Because the slope's going down. So the y value has to be less than that. So then I look at 3 from the right. It's this parabola. The last point I have on the parabola is 3 when x is 3.001. But if I kept going down to 3, the y value is also going down. So I know that this has to be less than 1.603. So I know that the limit as x approaches 3 of f of x has to meet both of those criteria. So it has to be less than 1.601, but also less than 1.603. And because of that, when I look at my choices, the only answer choice that fits both of those criteria is 1.6. So that's how I got 1.6. 1.602 is not less than 1.601, so that would mean the line has to jump back up, and that's not going to happen, right? It's a linear function. So that's how I did it. The way the solution does it is they find the slope of this line. So the slope of the linear part, right? And so to find the slope of the linear part, you have to use the last 2 points on the line, which would be this. And so you're doing y2 minus y1, right? So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. When you put that in your calculator, you end up with -1. So the slope of this line is -1. Okay, so then they put it in point slope form for the equation of the line, which if you don't remember is this. Point slope form. We use that more than slope intercept because it's a lot easier to write. So y minus y1, it doesn't matter. I just pick a point. What did I pick? I picked 2.98 when I wrote it on my paper. So y minus 2.98. Oops, that's my x. Y minus 1.62, right? Equals, the slope is -1, and then x minus x1. So what's the x point that goes with 1.62? It's 2.98. So that's the equation of this line right here. And then we can simplify it. Distribute that -1 through, and then I know it's going to be -x when I move that 1.62 to the other side, plus 2.98 plus 1.62 ends up becoming y equals minus x plus 4.6 when you add those up. And so then now when I'm checking at x equals 3, so we are essentially finding the limit as x approaches 3 of -x plus 4.6. I can just plug it in, and it's going to be -3 plus 4.6, which is 1.6, right? So that's how they did it. So basically, the solution shows you how they figured out what this function is. They wrote a equation for this function, and then once they got the equation for the left hand side of the function, they were able to just plug in the 3 and evaluate it to get 1.6. You could have done all that, or I just reasoned through it like this. Hopefully that helps.